He feels again the sensation he has had all his life, that she is the other side to him, that they fit together, him and her, like two halves of a walnut, that without her he is incomplete, lost. He will carry an open wound down his side for the rest of his life where she had been ripped from him. How can he live without her? He cannot. It is like asking the heart to live without the lungs, like tearing the moon out of the sky and asking the stars to do its work, like expecting the barley to grow without rain. Tears are appearing on her cheeks now, like silver seeds as if by magic. He knows they are his, falling from his eyes onto her face, but they could just as easily be hers. They are one and the same. Historical note. In the 1580s, a couple living in Henley Street, Stratford, had 3 children, Susanna and then Hamnet and Judith, who were twins. In 1596, Hamnet died aged 11. 4 years or so later, his father wrote a play entitled Hamlet. If you've heard anything about this book that I'm about to review for you tonight, you know that it is the story of a grief that inspired an artist. The book we are talking about is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, the winner of the Women's Prize for Fiction, one of the UK's most prestigious awards for literature and distinguished literature. And Maggie O'Farrell won the award this year, 2020, with her book, Hamnet. I have 10 pages left of Hamnet, so I'm going to read them here with you guys. And this book is about the Shakespeare family, although never is the name Shakespeare mentioned throughout the entire novel. The character that represents William Shakespeare is never actually referred to by name. He is called the Latin tutor, the husband, the father, the friend, the playwright. He is called all these things, but never, never, never is his name used in dialogue or in narrative. This device that Maggie O'Farrell chooses to employ is brilliant. It's lovely. It is wonderful how she does it. And it is seamless. It does not feel clunky. It does not feel rocky or bumpy or annoying or anything like that. It feels so delicately handled and so precisely landed. This is the story of grief. That is the book. It is the story of loss. It is the story of death. Now, the story centers and orbits around the death of the son Hamnet. That is told to us in the first pages, the historical note before chapter 1 even happens. It is even written in the synopsis of this novel. If you know anything about this novel, you know that that is what is happening in this novel. But the character that we see put on display more than any other, the mother, Agnes. Maggie O'Farrell stunningly lands her character development in this book. Every character is delicately crafted, chiseled, shaped at the potter's wheel, formed into vivid, beautiful human characters that just leap off the page and draw on us on so many levels. Agnes is stunningly imagined by Maggie O'Farrell. There's so much love behind the pen. Historically, there is not much known about her. And so Maggie O'Farrell is given a lot of room to develop this character, to imagine who she would have been and who she was, and to play into her story and to use this character as an element. As much as she is a character, she is also an element. We see this surface in the family. We see this happen in the nameless Shakespeare. We see this happen in Hamnet's sisters. We see their grief. We are electric with their pain. But more than anyone, Agnes she is the element of grief that we, the readers, are truly unraveled by. She's in tune with nature. She does this thing throughout the book where she grabs the skin between the finger and the thumb and can sense things about the person that she's touching. She can sense their character. She can sense their integrity. She can even see glimpses and sense things about their future. She doesn't know how she knows these things, but she senses them when she does that. They are exposed to her, and she is aware on a heightened level, on a different platitude. She is in tune with things happening in the spiritual world. She can even almost see beyond the veil and find and sense those that have already passed. She knows and is aware about her own life and her own future. And one thing that she is aware of is that at her deathbed, she will have 2 children at the foot of her deathbed. And so she's surprised when her second pregnancy, when she's giving birth, that she actually has twins. She does not see what's coming. She does not know that in 11 years, one of them will be lost. This is the story that we're dealing with. Let me talk a little bit about structure, because to me, as much as the story is brilliant, as much as these characters are unfathomable and truly stunning, as much as that is the case in this book, Hamnet, the structure of this novel is also very brilliant. Let me tell you why. There are 2 parts to this book. The first part 1, is the majority of the book. It is 3/4 of the book, probably. In the chapters, we're kind of bouncing back and forth, back and forth. We have one side where we're in what would be the present moment of the story. The book opens with Hamnet searching for someone, some adult, running to the physician, looking for his mother, looking for his grandparents, looking for anyone, because his sister, his twin sister, Judith, is ill and something is not right. And so he is frantically searching. And that is what is happening in the present of the book. And then we have essentially flashbacks to the story of Agnes and the tutor and how they meet and how they fall in love, back and forth in chapter form. The climactic event of Hamnet's death occurs, and from there are no more chapters. Why is this brilliant? What is Maggie O'Farrell doing? To me, what she is doing is demonstrating grief. Moving forward with no chapters, it gives the sense of an all-encompassing grief. There's no longer this delineation and emphasis on moments in life and transitions in life and anticipations in life, the way life naturally leaves us hoping, leaves us waiting, leaves us on a cliffhanger, leaves us transitioning. Chapter breaks feel very much like that, things that we can relate to, where this is a chapter ending and this is a chapter beginning. This is something I'm anticipating, this is transition. But in the moment of grief, suddenly all that dissolves away, and what that device does for us is leaves us with this sense of all-encompassing, all-consuming grief. Not that Maggie O'Farrell needed a device to support that element of the story, because she is magnificent. swinging for the stands. The crack of that bat is heard so loud. It resounds and resonates and reverberates through crowds of people. She doesn't need this device to support her writing about grief, but this device absolutely embellishes her writing. It augments her writing. It leaves you with the sense of an all-encompassing element of grief. No longer do transitions matter. No longer does something anticipatory matter. No longer does a cliffhanger matter. We are consumed with grief. That is the brilliance of the device that Maggie O'Farrell employs in stopping this chapter nonsense. There's no time for this. And one can even imagine Maggie O'Farrell so consumed herself in the story that she kind of like doesn't care, just cast it all aside. This nonsense, these literary elements that are unnecessary now, they mean nothing. You can almost sense the grief coming off the page as Maggie O'Farrell is writing it and striking her own heart. Maggie O'Farrell pours everything into this novel. Everything. Everything. It is as though we have been pummeled one too many times. The fist has landed one too many times, and we cannot get off the mat. We cannot stand to fight. We cannot stand to look for chapters closing and chapters starting and cliffhangers and profound ending sentences of chapters. All of that. We're weary with grief. We are dehydrated by sorrow. I love that element of this book. I love that Maggie O'Farrell creates this distinction that punctuates the pain. Punctuates the pain. A word on Maggie O'Farrell's writing. The prose of this story is poetic, and she has this uncanny ability to leave us thrilled and edge of our seat. She can leave us edge of our seat in one moment, and the very next page, she settles us and quiets us, and we find ourselves almost rooted like 100-year-old oak trees, just rooted like we've been here forever. And then in the same breath, we find ourselves melting like gold being refined, just the fire turned up and we are melting. And then we find almost a moment of being crushed like Agnes's herbs and her flowers and her poultices and her pestle and mortar. I mean, Maggie O'Farrell has her way with us. We hang on every word. The poetry, the imagery she uses, the phrasing, the way she wields language, the way she slices through us, cuts through us. It is every single page for me. Hamnet is a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. It is extraordinary. The dialogue between Hamnet and Judith. "You shall be well," she murmurs. He grips her fingers in anger. "I shall not." He passes his tongue over his lips, tasting salt. "I'll come with you. We'll go together." Again, the flicker of a smile, the pressure of her fingers. "Nay," she says, his tears glistening on her face. "You shall stay. They need you." These twins, the way she writes that dialogue, the the way she writes the inner life of Agnes. The tears start to flow for us before we ever hit the climactic moment, because we are in Agnes's mind, watching her realize what is happening, watching the grief already begin to burrow and carve into her, already begin to imprint on her, already begin to whisper to her, already begin to tell her what is coming. So we already begin to sense and know and understand. And Maggie O'Farrell draws us into those moments of fear and those moments of terror, watching Agnes like see the storm on the horizon coming, sense it, smell the rain in the air, how unfair it feels, how quick it's happening. That's what Maggie O'Farrell gives us, is the quickness of it. That time can't be slowed, that any moment now it's going to be over and he's going to be gone, and I don't get to hear him again. I don't get to see him again. I don't get to laugh with him again. Everything I wanted to know about him is slipping away so quickly. He is leaving. Like, we sense all of that. Maggie O'Farrell, oh my God. It's so, it's so hard. We just sit there as Agnes sees the storm on the horizon and knows it's coming, and Maggie O'Farrell paints that for us perfectly, and then it hits. The storm makes landfall. Over and over and over again. Small details of grief, subtle, nuanced elements of loss. That's what she gives us. And that is part of the masterpiece of this. Those are the brushstrokes that imprint upon you, that you walk away from the painting remembering. And then we watch the aftermath of that storm, and grief, 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 grief. She does not know what to do with his clothes. They sit there on the bed. She presses her face into them. God, can you imagine? Can you imagine the smell of your son in the clothes that he'll never wear again? You would never want to wash those. It's the sense of loss. It's the vacuum. It's the Hamnet-sized hole in everyone. The individuals around Shakespeare, the individuals around Agnes that are still alive, the things about them that surface memories and surface thoughts and evoke remembrances of Hamnet. Your dead son's twin is left-handed. That evokes remembrances of Hamnet. That evokes the thought that, but Hamnet was right-handed. You can't escape it. It's like you turn a corner, there's grief. You turn a corner, there's the reminder. She's peeling apples, and the long green curls of the apple skin dripping from the blade like the hair of a mermaid. O'Farrell works magic. She enthralls. She dazzles. She is a hurricane, making rivers inside of us flow backwards with the surge of storm water. She wrings us dry. Every drop that can be squeezed from us, she manages to. God. What a masterpiece. What a true masterpiece. Maggie O'Farrell. God. Hamnet. Whoa. This is so stunning. There's so much grief, so much. Oh God, what it is for people to lose something so precious as a son. A true masterpiece. On so many levels, this book leaves me speechless. On so many levels, this book left me unraveled. I am shocked that this was not on the Booker Prize long list of 2020. I'm shocked. Hamnet, to me, is absolutely a classic. The specifics of this family's grief over their loss of their son and brother Hamnet, the specifics are what dignify this story as universal. I have to say, thank you, Maggie O'Farrell. Thank you for this beautiful book. Thank you so much for pouring yourself out for us. Thank you for digging and laboring for this story. Thank you for searching and seeking. Thank you for confronting yourself. Thank you for showing us yourself, for being so deeply vulnerable and giving us this story. You have deeply inspired me. You have expanded me. Thank you, Maggie O'Farrell, for this masterpiece.